Last year, when we looked at the Chibok matter, was it last year or year before last, you talked about the fact that why is it that they couldn't, because if you take 100 or 200 girls, you need buses, not one, not two, but perhaps more, and you should be able to see trails. And we talked about the fact that so those vehicles that are being used, nothing has been said of them. They told us they were going to name the names of sponsors of Boko Haram. We haven't seen any list whatsoever. So it looks as if, look, the same questions that were not answered then as a result of either negligence or whatever it is playing themselves out again. Yes,
I'm sure you have listened to those who talk about conspiracies. You have heard a governor recently, let me not mention names, talked about passing information. A few hours, or before the attack.
Several governors, in fact.
Several governors. They keep saying they pass information, they gather information, pass them. Like I always say, you need to process this information into actionable intelligence and take preemptive actions. But we don't seem to do all this, which has given rise to the conspiracy theory. There are indications that some high-level political and non-political actors in the North are aiding and abetting this. If we take it further, we will even come to the conclusion that what you find as the philosophy of Boko Haram that looks crazy now is actually what several politicians in the North want to implement as a policy of government.
How do you mean?
What did the captain talk about? The girls, the girl child, being a little more restrained than the male. Why? The visibility of the girl in the North is a policy that several politicians do not, the visibility of the girl child in the North is a policy that some northern politicians do not want. When you talk about the implementation of Sharia, as we saw by a former northern governor of Borno State who implemented Sharia, what is it all about? Restrain people from living certain kind of life, restrain women from going to school. And Boko Haram says, hey, Western education is prohibited here. And we look at it and we do not see the link between this. But if we want to look at the vulnerability of the girls, let us not only look at it, because the criminal now is not just looking at Sharia law, implementation of Sharia. He's now looking at how to raise as much money as possible to wage war. So they can also think out to take as many boys as possible.
Right.
It's about human lives that will make government subdue government and make them negotiate.
Is it a question of conspiracy theory, or is it just failed intelligence? What do you think?
I don't want to discount any of the two. So let me start with the conspiracy theory thing. On the conspiracy theory part of it, one of the members of the House said there were people within government who were pro-insurgents. For him, as a politician, that could be a concern. But for me, as a former intelligence officer and practitioner, security practitioner, that's an excuse. The prophets of Christian and Islam also had people working against them. That's right. And it did not stop this religion from going where it's gotten to today. And the subject of counterintelligence addresses that properly. Next is, other than conspiracy theory, we're talking about what?
Failed intelligence.
Failed intelligence. I want you to understand something today, Chamberlain, and going forward. You see, intelligence, to make use of intelligence, to gather intelligence, you have to be intelligent. If I gave you the best intelligence acquisition gadgets on the planet and you are not intelligent, you cannot be able to to acquire, glean off, and use intelligence.
So does that suggest that we could have intelligence officers who are not intelligent?
Seemingly so. Seemingly so. Let me give you a typical example. What is intelligence? Intelligence is information that has been gathered, collated, processed, and what have you. Now, how do you begin to gather information? Let's do intelligence 101, basic intelligence. How many times have you taken a walk on our streets and seen, say for example, a policeman with this and a wristwatch? Now we have phones, so wristwatches could actually drop off. But with this is the beginning of acquiring intelligence. How many times? So when basic menial intelligence acquisition is seemingly lost, what will all the equipment do for you? What will all the equipment do for you? Intelligence gathering, intelligence acquisition, pedestrian and layman language as it may seem, is actually a fusion of so many skill sets. Your ability to see, listen, and discern things, and also capture it. What, when, where, what are you doing about it? But when you have people who walk off their heads, how do you now begin to have triggers? Your notes should be triggers for your memory. So you can recall vividly what happened by just putting certain phrases down. The time, the place, what happened, when it happened, and that kind of thing. So we need to actually get serious about Nigeria. There are people who have no business being in offices they occupy, and they are being paid to do just that. And they're using our resources to do just that. I'm sorry, I'm not casting aspersion here, but if you look at the cost in lives, the cost in property, the cost in the country's image, standing from the outside, when you hear these things, what do you see? What do you feel? 100 and something people just on 2019 Earth? Come on.
You know, if we could even take this a little further,
yes.
When people say, look, why do they try some of these people in secret? Yeah. Whose interest do they plan to protect? I mean, the Boko Haram suspects. And then the different schools of thought out there. But do you really think that some people may be profiting from this because this is happening because people think they can do it?
Yeah, a lot of people are profiting from it. Of course, it's business. When you say security practitioner, security consultant, I am a businessman doing security business. I need contracts, isn't it? And I do contracts. What that simply means is that I want to make money from the insecurity lapses, security situation of an environment or a country.
But that would be legitimate.
Legitimate.
But does that also mean you could be contributing to the insecurity situation?
Depending on who I am. That's where I'm coming to, depending on who I am. So, if the country is secured, perhaps I will have nothing else to do if that's my only source of income. So I could also fund and fuel insecurity. If you have acquired technology to put off oil fire, somehow you can also fund those who will set the pipelines ablaze.
Whoa. Does that mean that we should actually look into security agencies themselves?
I talk about profiling. Profiling is key. Not ethnic profiling. Not when I'm looking for a job, you ask me state of origin. No. Profiling of crime, including the practitioners themselves. That's why I said, I asked you earlier, I said, why do we study criminal psychology? We need to think like the criminals. So there is the need to look inwards, look at the security architecture. It's trite to keep using this phrase, security architecture of Nigeria. What is it? Who are the architects? Like he asked, that one can be unintelligent and manning the intelligence department. How do you gather intelligence? Information. What is information? The disabled man on the street begging can be your source of intelligence. As I was coming in, I saw a few of them at the gate, the main gate, estate gate. I could deploy those men to give me information. And harmlessly, they are doing their job without wearing uniform or wielding guns.
The CSO is taking note of that.
I am coming, sir. I am coming. I have been a serious critic of the Nigerian police. And why do I say so? I travel a lot within the country, consciously. Deliberately, I do so. I fly when it is necessary, absolutely necessary. What do I use this to do? I observe the police. Those who are supposed to give information to the police don't like them anymore. The driver, commercial driver, the keke rider, the Okada rider. Why? Because each time you get to any police checkpoint, you must do business with the police. And this distraction is causing the police so much that those who are supposed to be friends with them, give them information to work with, are now hostile to them. So, intelligence gathering is beyond setting up an intelligence unit within the police force and say, this is the Special Intelligence Unit or Directorate of State Security Service. Those ones are institutions that process the information the ordinary people bring.
I mean, we used to have the CIDs working amongst the citizens.
Very good. I have talked about information money. The colonial masters run our police with information money. The former IGs inherited this. Where is information money today? Information money is money you give to an officer. He goes to the beer parlor, sits down, drinks himself to stupor. And while doing so, he is gathering information. It's happening in Cameroon. Cameroon is safer. Go to Douala, go to Yaoundé.